Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I've got Ashton Martin on the show, and give you a real quick bio. He is a hip-hop artist whose lyricism, deft arrangements, and pristine songwriting abilities. Ashton puts a brand new shine on hip-hop. Hailed as one of Florida's most versatile artists on the rise, Ashton Martin grew up around a variety of genres of music with a close family tie to hip-hop, gospel, R&B, which greatly influences sound today. He's made many impacts in the music industry while garnering critical acclaim from outside outlets such as Voyage Magazine, Hop Xclusives, WWE TV Network, and Rap Fiesta. Ashton, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity and sharing the platform. Just thankful to be here.
No problem. Like I said, I love having creatives on the show and musical guests. I've got a very wide variety of tastes when it comes to music, so I love exploring the creative process and all that sort of stuff. So I really appreciate you coming on. And want to start off by kind of going back to the beginning. What is it that drew you to music in the first place?
Well, for me, I was kind of born around music. Like my grandmother was in the choir. My father wrote, directed choir, played the drums. I had a drum set early as I think I was like 5 to 6 years old. My auntie was a singer as well. But I think for me, it really started around like my preteens and teenage area. And it was really because of what was going on around me and in my life at the time. And it was a way of expressing myself that I didn't really feel like I had that expression anywhere else. So that's what really drove me to fall in love and actually begin writing with music.
And at what point in your life did you decide that, you wanted to, jump in with both feet and make, music a livelihood as well?
Yeah. So, growing up, you have the different things, especially when you hit high school, and that's kind of the point in life where you kind of trying to figure out what you actually want to do in life. I always knew that I wanted to be a music artist, but I didn't know how real it was. It seemed more like a fairy tale, especially growing up in a small town. You don't really see a lot of entrepreneurs. You don't really see a lot of music artists that make it out. So I didn't really think it was possible. I just thought it was something that I was really good at. I knew something I love to do. So, fast forward, I go through college, still not really finding that thing that, what am I going to do with life? And the whole time I'm doing music the whole time. And so it really got serious for me when my wife, who is now my manager as well, decided to actually start managing and actually taking it as a career. And then from that point, when I moved to Atlanta, I saw what you can actually do with music and how it's actually feasible to be a music artist, even on an independent level. And I say 2019, 2018 is when I actually really started taking it seriously, like a career, and going full time and putting full energy into it.
Yeah. I want to go back and revisit something you just mentioned about being an independent artist. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges that, go along with being an independent artist, but there's also a lot of freedom that you have by being independent as well. So you want to talk a little bit about both the pros and cons of being an independent artist today?
Yeah. So like you said, one of the pros is off the rip, your freedom. You don't have anybody controlling your art or telling you how you should make it or trying to set the industry standards of what rap music should be or following along with trends or things of that nature. The con is it's all on you, whether you're a success or your failure. You know what I'm saying? And you are putting in most of the work and you don't have the label contacts or the resources that the label has. You have to go and find that out for yourself. And building a team is something that you got to build for yourself. And thankfully, I was able to do that and build my own team. And either way, even if you're not signed to a label, you have to learn to manage your brand as a label does. So just like a label has the artist, the manager, the videographer, the engineers, the producers, the marketers. You know what I'm saying? You have to find that. And even if you're wearing some of those hats, you got to learn those different things. And I will say as an independent artist, you definitely got to be multi-talented. You can't just be one box. You got to wear, sometimes you got to wear all the hats. So that's kind of like the con of it, but it's also a pro at the same time too, because it makes you go around it.
Yeah, and I've seen some of your videos, and they're produced very well. Very impressed with that. So, talk about that again as an independent. Like I said, watching some of your videos, from just the naked eye, you wouldn't think that that's being done. What I'm assuming is probably a relatively tight budget. So, talk me through that process of, independently making a music video.
So shout out to Nisi J. She's the AME photographer right now. And she's a big help on that end. She does, out of the recent videos, she's done the editing, the directing, and the actual filming of it. And like you said, we don't have a big budget by putting these things together. So, she's one of the ones that has to wear a lot of different hats when it comes to putting this production together and making it, taking the budget that we have and making it look like $1 million budget. When the process of doing these videos, I will say one of the blessings is the relationships that we have. We're all very, very close. So we already know each other's kind of like boundaries and where we want to go. And she's also a person that not just being on my team, she's also a fan of the music. So she really listens to the music and kind of like knows where I'm going with a lot of the sounds and a lot of the lyrics. And she puts the visual aspect together, you know what I'm saying? So I will say, like, with me, I'm not necessarily that much of a visual person. I can come up with the idea and the audio, and but for me, like, thinking of how it's gonna look, I'm not really that person. And so that's definitely why I went to seek out somebody that can actually help me in that aspect. And in this generation of promotion, you got to have those visuals. You know what I'm saying? People have to see you now. It's not as much as where you can just put songs out and, just be heard in that aspect. People want to see it for themselves before they fall in love with it. So, it's very important. And I think with us, we love having fun with it. We always have fun at every one of our shoots. That comes first. Like, that's what made me fall in love with music in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. And it's great that you can collaborate with somebody who, like you said, you have a vision of your own, but you can kind of only get it to this certain point, and then you got to hand it off. And I know a couple of years ago, organization I was with, we were going through a rebranding process, and we were redesigning our logo. And I remember going and, meeting with the team that was going to, do the actual logo, and, literally handing them this pencil drawn thing. And what they did with that was amazing. So to be able to surround yourself with people like that is truly, truly a blessing for sure. One of the things that I've noticed with your music is a lot of effort goes into the lyrics and creating a positive message of the lyrics. And, let's face it, again, I'm a music lover, and I'm always drawn to positive music. Not all music is positive, but why do you think it's so important to have a positive message in your music?
Well, I think that comes to the person that's delivering it. I wouldn't necessarily say that I've always been the person that delivers the most positive music, but my life changed for myself, and so did my music, because it always comes back to me personally. Usually when I'm creating, I don't really take the audience in mind until I'm finished creating, and then thinking about how I'm going to get this out to the audience. So a lot of that starts with the person that's creating the music. You know what I'm saying? It really, like I said, it comes from the heart, and whatever comes out in the sound, you can tell what's on a person's heart, so what's on their mind. And that's something that's always been on my mind. And I kind of found my lane, or my reason, my real purpose for doing this, and especially in hip hop, is seeing this a need for it. But like I said, that's something that I don't really sit down and just think like, oh, I gotta make this positive message when I'm creating. It's just me literally creating, like putting my experiences together and what do I really want to say? Because no matter what you say, it's gonna take a life of its own. So it's just me being mindful of, like, when I put something out there, it's gonna go farther than my bedroom. You know what I'm saying? It's people that's actually going to digest this and live with it. You know, it's people that live their life. I'm one of them. I live my life to music. So when I'm working out, when I'm driving, no matter what I'm doing, I'm constantly listening to this. And it's like, if you constantly put nothing but negativity around you, it's going to be hard to try to process and think positively. So I know with me, I had to change my life first before I even got to that point of being able to put that type of positivity in the music. And another thing is I always try to keep in mind of like the people that I'm influencing. You know, a big thing with me is children. I grew up with a lot of siblings, and I was the oldest of most of my siblings. So I'm used to being like a person that seeing others copy me, you know what I'm saying, whether it's positive or negative. And, you know what I'm saying, I always keep that in mind. And most of my friends have children as well. So it's like, to me, I'm not just a regular artist. To me, I'm like, it's deeper. It's like, yo, we're really hanging on to what this guy's saying. You know what I'm saying? We're taking it day by day. It's almost like we're living by this, you know what I'm saying, in the sense of having that influence. Us as artists and rappers, specifically in this generation, we hold that type of influence. So it's something to always be mindful of when you're creating.
I love that. And I love the fact that you take the responsibility of knowing that, you know, what you say matters. You know, the example you give matters. I mean, a lot of people, you know, they get put on a platform, whether it's a high platform or a low platform, and they don't take it seriously, the fact that they're a role model. And it's, you know, it comes with the territory. You've got to take that seriously. So I love the fact that you do. You mentioned that your life changed, which, you know, made you go into more of a positive direction with your lyrics. Do you mind talking about what happened that created that change?
Yeah, so I also start with a lot of the reason why we see what we see. You got a lot of guys that's getting signed at like 16 and 17, and most of these guys haven't even lived their life. They haven't had that room to grow before they receive this platform. So of course, me at 16, 17, I wouldn't know what to do with that platform. I wouldn't realize and understand the influence that I have until like later on. So me at that age, a lot of these guys, or like me, they were just regurgitating their environment, what they see, what they're experiencing growing up with. And me at that time, I was doing the same thing, just literally just documenting my life and what I was doing and what I was going through at that day. I think around 18 or 19, my wife's little brother at the time, and he was very young at the time. He was, you know, saying one of my lyrics, and it really hit me. I was like, yo, that's not really something that I really want a little child to be saying. You know, and it was just a thought at that time. It wasn't a thing that really just changed me. It was the first thing that kind of like made me take note of it. And then with my life personally, I say around 2015, it was early in that, probably around 2013, I had some experiences spiritually and also physically that almost was like near-death experiences for me. And I really thought this was the end of the road at this point in time. And the first time it really made me look over my life, like if my life was to end right here, what have I left behind? And I wasn't necessarily proud of what it was. You know, I've done some things and it was cool and all, but for the impact that I really wanted to leave, I hadn't left that impact. And so, you know, it really made me change my life. And spiritually, you know, it really made me realize to me who God really is. Because I grew up in the church and, you know, it's cool and everything, but you know, it's kind of like you're listening to somebody else's story. I had never really experienced it for myself. And then I had an encounter with God personally for myself. You know what I'm saying? And it really changed my view of everything from that point on. And from then, I kind of, you know, start working on myself. And as I started working on myself, I really actually stopped music. And I was going to stop music entirely at that point in time. But then it was just like I got depressed after that. And it made me realize how important this is to me and how much of a purpose this is. So I continued and just, you know, went in another direction with it. And just, you know, was building from that point. And then from there, it started to becoming a career with it. But that was like what happened to me in the beginning. It really made me change my whole direction and my whole like foresight of what music or what I wanted to bring to the hip hop culture.
I love that. I was literally getting goosebumps as you were telling that story. That's very cool. I want to talk a little bit about the creative process for you. Again, I'm an author, I'm a writer, and, I know how creativity works for me. So I always like to hear the stories, from other creatives, as to how, you know, you find that inspiration. I know for me personally, I know there's a lot of times where like I want to write and I'll sit at the computer, I'll stare at a blank screen, I'll type the title, I'll type the first paragraph, and then, I'm just stuck. And then there's other times where like 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and, my wife's gotten to the point where she doesn't question it anymore. So like I wake up and I just go to the computer and like she'll roll over and see I'm not there and she knows what's going on, and I just come out, man, and I write you know, like there's no tomorrow. So I'm just interested to see how that creative process works for you.
It's the exact same way. Sometimes it'll literally, everything just flows right then and there. And then sometimes I can spend months on like a song, or like sometimes I spend weeks on a verse. It just depends. I think what I learned from some wise person, I don't remember who it was, I heard it from, they were like, a lot of times when you get writer's block, it's because you just haven't lived it yet. So, you got to live it. And I took that to heart. And I think the worst thing as an artist or any type of writer you can do is force it, is what I've learned. So I never try to force it. Of course, there's a point where you have to develop your skills to get to that point where you're able to just write what you're feeling or what you wanting to get out. So, I think that plays an important role of putting those 10,000 hours into your writing and really developing that skill. And then from that point, it's kind of like now it's more so about what I want to say. I don't really have to think so much of how to write it or just the writing process. Now it's more it's like how I feel, what I want to say. But yeah, like it's no rhyme or reason behind it. Sometimes it can be all at the moment, and then sometimes I've had instrumentals that my producer sent me that's been in my phone for years, and then I'll come back to it and it's like, I got something for it now. And then sometimes I may just write and I don't even have anything to go with it at the moment. And then eventually something will come, or a producer may pick it up and I'm like, oh, I got something for this, or build around it or something. It's like, it's no rhyme or reason, man. It's just, it's just really about my mood and how I'm feeling and what I'm getting out at that time, a lot of times. So mine is based a lot of my emotions. I will say that. And then, from there, it's just, well, what are you trying to say at the end of the day? Like, what do you want to say from that point?
And how tough is it for you, putting your emotions out in the line like that, being vulnerable? I know a lot of times, especially as males, and probably even tougher for you as a male of color, to really, be vulnerable, because, we're always brought up to be tough, be the support. So how difficult is you to just like lay it out on the line and say, man, this is what it is, take it or leave it?
You're exactly right on that. As a man first, and then as a Black man, it's not the easiest thing. And I had to go back and really relearn a lot of things that I was taught about how a man should be. And that kind of started first. Good thing, I also had some people that I listened to that was really influential to me, and I seen their vulnerability through it. And it's kind of like, it made me think of the fact that I became a fan of this person because they were vulnerable. So it's like with me doing that same thing, and we're all humans at the end of the day. Even if you can't relate to a person's story, you can relate to that feeling. Everybody has those feelings. So you can relate to that initial feeling that I may not experience this, but I felt how he's felt before, and it kind of brings a different type of attachment to an artist, So with me, it's one of those things. It's like I said, I don't think as much as of the audience when I create. I just put it out there. And sometimes it is tough because some things can be really personal. And another tough thing is like when you're telling stories and other people are involved, sometimes you got to be mindful, because it's like you can tell these very sensitive stories, and just because you're the artist and you're ready to put this out there and you're constantly in the light, some people that's attached to it may not be as willing to reveal this. So it's like it's tough, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you just gotta sacrifice which foot you want to shoot at the moment. A lot of times it's like I'll deal with this later, like you like, especially telling family stories, like, yeah, I know I'm probably gonna get some flack for this. And sometimes you just want to sit people down and have a conversation. Like, look, I'm willing to release this, and I want to know how you feel. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't do that a lot because I feel like it's my story, and if you're a part of it, it is my story. Now I be mindful in the way I say it and the way I put it out there. But like, I wouldn't lie and say it's an easy thing. It's pretty tough. And sometimes you really got to deal with the back end of things. Like, a lot of times you see artists be very vulnerable, but we don't see what comes with that vulnerability, especially in this day and age. It's a lot of, everybody has a voice now. Everybody has an opinion. So it's like you almost got to get to a point of really not caring about a person's opinion on it and just really stating what you want to state and stand on that. So it's like, it's vulnerability, but it's also a toughness in it too, because you have to have some level of just sternness in it to be able to put that out there and stand on it. And like, this is how I feel, and nobody's gonna tell me different or derail me from being this authentic and this vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think what you said right there is, really what nails it, is that I believe vulnerability is truly bravery. And I think, Brene Brown, I think, she did a TED Talk years ago and just talked about that vulnerability is truly bravery at that point. So in the early days of your music career, was there anyone who really kind of took you under their wing and said, hey, you got some talent. Let me give you a little nudge to get you where you need to be?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a lot of different nudges. Like, early on, I'll definitely say it was my father. I don't think he knew that I had musical talent. I think he was just kind of expressing himself. He played an early role because he was in my life early on. When I became a teenager is when, the household was broken up. So I wasn't around him as much. So I've got different influence. So early on, I'll definitely say he sparked that initial interest in music. And then, as a boy growing up, we're more likely wanting to be like our fathers. So what we see our fathers or what we see our fathers listening to, we're more likely to take that in because we're really just emulating them. But when I didn't have him around as that model, it was more so turning to who was around me at the moment. I had a lot of older cousins that were rapping at the time too. And it was crazy because in my generation, it was a gap. So like up until me, it wasn't really no boys in my generation. It was a lot of older and it was a lot of females. And so like I was always trying to find that way of acceptance with a lot of the older generation. And that was the first thing. Like a lot of them were rappers. So when they found out I could rap and I was good and I was young at the time, it was like, yo, this pretty cool. Like we gotta keep this little dude around us because he's cool. You know what I'm saying? That he can do this. And they definitely put their arm around me and kind of like from them I learned how you're supposed to do it and what is these different things and getting put on the different elements of music and so that helped, as well as people that I looked up to, listening to, but I'll definitely say most of my experience, it comes from a lot of different areas and just picking up a lot of things because I've always been a sponge. So anything that I've ever been around, I just soaked it in and soaked it up and just kind of put my own way in doing it. So, yeah.
I love that. And you had mentioned earlier that your wife is your manager. How important is it to have her support in what you're trying to do musically?
And it's almost the most important thing because sometimes you don't have no support, and just having that one support that no matter what, I'm like, I know no matter where this goes, I know that she's always going to be there for me. And just having that on the business end is also important too, because I don't have to constantly look over my shoulder and watch my back. But it's not even just my wife. Anybody that's affiliated with AME, I've had that trust, and that's been I will say, as an artist, that's the literally most toughest thing is placing your trust or things that you create in other people's hands. You got to have people that's really, really trustworthy, and I know that no matter what, she's looking out for my best interest, and she knows me better than anyone else. So it's like she knows exactly what I want to get out of this, and she knows like if I'm not able to give my say so on things, she know what I would want to do. So it's really that piece of having somebody looking out for you, and you're not having to watch your shoulder. You're not having to like worry about them crossing you or not having your best interest or trying to take from you at the end of the day. So we're building together. So no matter what, I know it's in her best interest just as well as it is in mine. To grow and continue to build what we've already been building on.
I love that. Throughout the early days of your career, was there ever a time where you were like, this isn't going to work? Like, I can't do this. I forget the amount of money you went to Atlanta with. It was less than $1,000, if I remember correctly. But was there a time where it was like, man, I got to go get a job?
Yeah, there's been plenty of times like that, and I've worked a lot of jobs. I've been working jobs since I was like 16. So there's been times early on that I didn't think it was possible, of course. But then there's been, you hit rough patches financially. Even just recently, I think I had a remote job for about a good, I say 5 months, about the start of February. But I got laid off from it. You know what I'm saying? So it was a blessing though, because he gave me that refocus and put back into it. But I needed that financial support. Sometimes it is, you got to do what you got to do, and there's times as far as like feeling like giving up. That might be tomorrow. I might wake up tomorrow and I'm just in the mood. I'm like, you know what? I'm really tired of this. Like, but it's always something that sparks me to keep me going. And especially early on, it was so easy for me to feel like that. I always felt like that. Like, I don't think I'm gonna make it in this. And then it's sometimes it's just you gotta find something within yourself. And I learned not to look for outward motivation. It's that internal motivation that really keeps me going at the end of the day. And also like the people that supported me up to this point, they constantly reminded me of why I'm doing this and to continue to keep doing it. They may not even know it. They may just be, talking to me or saying how something made them feel, or, regurgitating how like this helped their day, or they were dealing with something, or even just them listening to it. It may not even be something that I'm help, that deep. It may just be them, just going through their day and telling me like, yo, I was listening to this while I was doing this or driving or something. And it kind of like put that reminder of like, okay, this is my purpose for it. So, it can get draining, because especially in the beginning, you put way more in than you're getting out of regardless. And in a normal, sane person mind, it doesn't really make sense. So in a sense, as any artist, you almost got to be so driven that you're almost insane. Like, it's not going to make sense to nobody around you until they see success. It's like, oh, I get it now. But it's like you got to be like literally that insane person in the beginning that's just putting in and putting in and putting in and putting in and not really getting anything out of it. But it just helps. And then you also got to realize like there's other ways to financially support yourself, and learn that even though you may have this as your main, you gotta figure out other streams, other revenues of income to help get you where you want to get to. Because you gotta have the funds to invest at the end of the day. That's just what it comes down to. So no matter how you do that, it's got to be done, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. It's funny. I think I saw on the internet one time a picture of an iceberg. At the top of the iceberg, it said success, but then underneath the water, that part of the iceberg is like 3 times as big as what's floating on top of the water. And it talks about hard work and dedication and failure and all that sort of stuff. So very relatable to go through that process. But tell me a little bit about the mindset when you decided to make that move from, Florida to Atlanta. Again, I mean, you're leaving your comfort zone. It's a gutsy move. You have hardly any cash in your pocket. What was it that said, look, this is the time to do it, and we're going all in, and we're going to make this thing work?
Yeah, a lot of that was spiritual at the moment. I literally had got something from God of like, it's time to move to Atlanta. And we had been talking about it, back and forth, but we weren't thinking that soon. And then I got that, and just knowing like how much I want, and I wanted to build my career no matter what. and understanding that no matter what, like is these moments don't come in comfortability a lot of the times. Any successful moment I had was never out of a moment of just being totally comfortable. It was always some type of comfortability to come with it. But I believe that when you have something that you want to put out and you have a desire for something, the world is gonna work in bringing those things to you, you know, and that's kind of how it worked. Like we came up here with nothing. We made something from that, and then we lost it all. After that point, we lost it again. So, but still, even after that point, it was so many blessings that came behind losing everything. Like when I say everything, I mean literally everything. But it was an international tour that came from that. So I was touring internationally, and people didn't even know I was homeless at the time, you know. But it takes that dedication and really putting it all out there, putting it all online for you to really get something from it. I just think that sacrifice is necessary, and no matter what you want to do in life, you're gonna have to sacrifice for it, and it's not gonna be comfortable, not always at least. And you know, you kind of get to a space where you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like now, I get uncomfortable when I'm not uncomfortable. Like sometimes when I get too comfortable, it's like, oh man, I'm kind of getting too complacent. I need to kind of jump back out there a little bit more, you know. So
I love that. You mentioned about touring, and that's a perfect segue into my next question here, which is during a live performance, like what type of energy are you drawing from the crowd? Where it's, you know, it's kind of like a, you know, live performance is kind of like a give and take. Everybody, you know, thinks a lot of times the performer is just up there for the audience, but it truly is, you know, you're feeding off of their energy and giving back. So tell me a little bit about that process that you go through during a live performance.
yeah, no, you're totally right on that. I get a lot from the crowd when I perform. There's been times I've been dead tired when I stepped on stage, and the crowd literally rejuvenated me. Like I've literally gained energy from it. But with me, I say that's been a process because I've always been a recording artist. But I like where I come from, there just wasn't that many opportunities to perform. And moving to Atlanta really brought that other side and made me work on that skill of actually learning how to perform. And I also give kudos to my wife because she's a stickler on that. So she really like made sure that I became a great performer. And it was a lot of button heads. It was a lot of just like on me, but I needed that because I had to learn how to like really learn how to control a crowd to bring that aspect to it and do what we needed to do. But for the process of it, a lot of times it just depends on the energy that I want to put out and the energy that I want to receive. Because sometimes it could be an intimate setting and you want a more intimate energy, and sometimes it could be a very, very live setting and you want that high impact energy. So I think that's my biggest thing I love about performing. It's like you can bring all these different aspects in this real time. You know, you can't really fake real time. You know, you can type up anything, you can look any way, but really like just type words, but like you can't fake expressions or like real live, you know, feelings and energy right in and there. So that's what I love about performing live.
I love that. Yeah, it is amazing the type of energy that you can pull off of a crowd. Um, if there's anybody out there today that's listening, that's, you know, where you were years ago, getting ready to make that leap, kind of, you know, questioning yourself, can I make it? Will I make it? Won't I make it? What's the best advice you could give to somebody who's thinking about jumping into this thing with both feet?
Yeah, I'll say you miss the shots you don't take, and don't procrastinate it. If this is something that you know you really want to do, then do it. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's really what it takes. A lot of times we kind of hold ourselves back. And I know I've been a hindrance on my own self for a long period of time before even making that move, knowing that I was supposed to make this move. So I would definitely say is, you know, get out there and do. Because a lot of times we try to prepare so much for it. And to be honest with you, you're never going to be 100% prepared. Definitely, don't get me wrong, perfect yourself, perfect your craft, but you're never going to be 100% prepared to jump out there and get out there. There's a lot of things that you're just going to learn literally by experience. And I always say it's easier to direct things that are in motion than to move something that hasn't started moving in the first place. There's people out there that can assist you, but if you don't have nothing to assist, then how are they going to help you out? You know, a lot of people ask people to support them. If you don't have anything to support, what are they going to support? You have to give people something to support. And these days, you could take people on your whole journey. That's the cool thing about it. You could take people from square one with you up to that. And then by that point, by the time they get to this point with you, they're super invested. And like, no matter what you put out there, they're going to support it. But it takes that bringing journey. It takes that journey along. You know, you got to go through that journey. And, you know, the more people you bring with you and engage at that point, it's just going to help you more in the long run. And they're going to be even more invested in you. So I would just say, as somebody that was in my position in the past, is just do it. You know what I'm saying? Go out there. Don't second guess it. Go with that inner feeling that's inside of you that's telling you what to go. That's what you listen to. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be a lot of failure that's going to come with that. You're going to feel like I definitely messed up a couple of times, but keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a part of the process. You got to go through those losses. That experience is like so necessary. I can't even stress how necessary that is.
Yeah, and I like what you talked about, you know, there as far as failing and continuing to move forward when you have when you do come across a stumbling block or fail. You know, who was it? Mike Tyson, who said everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right? So, you know, it's that ability to be fluid, you know, because I'm sure you probably had a certain plan when you decided to do this. And I don't know for sure, I'll have you answer it, but I'm guessing that plan didn't go the way it was originally written up. I know for myself and my wife, you know, when we decided to sell all our stuff and live in an RV full time, you know, COVID hit and all this other stuff. And, you know, the plan didn't go the way we had originally drawn up, but we kept moving forward. So, you know, tell me about, you know, some of the adjustments you might have had to make or, you know, maybe you're one of the lucky ones and the plan did go the way you wrote it. Let me know.
No, I didn't at all. Like, I thought I was going to be the next, the ring 17, 18. And obviously that didn't go how I planned. But I'm thankful that it didn't, because that would have led me down a whole path of destruction. But yeah, no, that's just what it is. I got a line in one of my songs that I said, it ain't no losses in life, it's only lessons. You know what I'm saying? And those lessons are important. Like, you gotta understand that it's really about your mindset. When you take these losses, are you looking at them like, are they really losses? Or are you looking like learning from, like, either what did I do out of this, or what is this training me for? Because that's kind of how I look at my losses. They're like either something I did wrong that I need to correct, or there's training. There's things that's getting me ready for what's to come. You know what I'm saying? Because once you come by it again, you're not gonna lose again. Once you already, you know, experienced it and had that in, like, next time it comes, that challenge comes, you're gonna ace it. You're gonna top it easy. But yeah, no, I definitely didn't go as planned. And a lot of times it didn't go as planned. To be honest with you, if I would have known the work and the amount of time it would take, I probably would have made a different decision when I was 16, 17. I probably would have picked up something different. Like, you know what, I'm going to go and do a totally different path, because this is a lot. I didn't expect all of this. You know, I thought it was like, you know, I'm good as I am. I thought as soon as I get out there, it's going to be like, boom, I'm going to blow up instantly. And it doesn't work like that. You know, it doesn't work like that for everybody. Apparently, there's some people that it happens to. I really don't believe it works for anybody. I believe even with people that do have that instant success, it wasn't instant. It was something or somebody that was working in behind the scenes to help them get to that point. So, man, it don't go as planned. You gotta be ready to pivot, because it's gonna be a lot of things that's gonna knock you in a different direction, and you know you gotta be quick on your feet sometimes. You gotta be ready to pivot.
I love that. I agree with that 100%. So we're getting close to time here, but where can people find you? Where you know, somebody wants to go check out your music, where can they find you on, you know, social media and the web?
Yeah, so on all social media platforms, it's Ashton Martin. It's Ashton Martin. Even on streaming music sites, same thing. It's Ashton Martin everywhere. I always say the easiest way to keep up with me is to text AME to 850-754-1956. And that's my text line. It keeps you updated with every new thing we release. If you're ever interested in any of the merchandise that we have, you just text shop to that number. It's 850-754-1956, and it'll send you the website and everything that's in our catalog that we have right now. But yeah, that's the easiest way to keep up with me. But yeah, on all social platforms, it's Ashton Martin.
Awesome. Before I get to my final question, is there anything you'd like to talk about that we didn't cover in this conversation?
Can't really think of anything at the moment. I will say I did just release a project EP last month. It's entitled Golden Child. Definitely go and check that out. It's a 4-track project, and definitely go and check out any recent work that I've put out before. But yeah, I'll say that project is pretty inspirational for me because I was going through a period of losses before, and I finally got back to the winning state. And it's just speaking on being chosen, being a golden child, as well as gold, being like a well-refined metal, heavily tested metal that goes through a lot but comes out as one of the most precious metals. So definitely go check that out.
Absolutely. So as you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, and it comes from the opening lyrics of Michael Frante's song Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. What's one of the little things that Ashton does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
I'm a giver, and I think that's one of the things that I do every day. And I know a lot of people may think of like monetary things when they think of giving, but sometimes it's just, giving that encouragement, giving prayers. Sometimes it can be monetary, or just being available. Because sometimes it's not always convenient to be available. But some people may need you. They may just need that ear or that conversation. And sometimes I'm just listening. It'll be things that people come to me and I don't have any advice whatsoever. But just being that ear and that listener, you never know what that can mean to somebody. So me, I'll definitely say being a chill forgiver is my, I feel like one of my purposes here on earth.
I love that. That's very important for sure. So appreciate that. Folks out there listening, and Ashton, I really really you taking the time. I could probably sit here and talk another hour with you about music and just the creative process. But I really enjoyed this conversation. I think there's a lot, for our listeners to learn just in, that perseverance and, keep grinding no matter what's thrown at you. Being able to pivot and being fluid, I think is huge. So, a lot to learn in this conversation, not just about music, but obviously about life as well. So I do really appreciate you taking the time. And folks out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at danclouser.com, and be sure to head on over to Amazon and pick up the latest copy of my newest book, The Journey of My Mother's Son. Ashton, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me as well, man. I appreciate it.
You bet.